Welcome to the Marketing and Me podcast. If you're eager to grow your health and wellness business via effective marketing methods while maintaining your own health and wellness, this podcast is for you. I'm your host, Leanne Shelton, and I help business owners just like you build trustworthy connections with their ideal clients. And I do this through engaging conversational copywriting and strategic advice at right time marketing. So feel free to book in a free 30-minute discovery call with me after listening to today's episode. The details are in the show notes. But now I would like to introduce you to my guest, Arani Duggan. Welcome, Arani.
Thank you so much, Leanne. It's so great to chat to you.
Thank you. And so Arani has over 10 years experience in senior marketing and business development roles, predominantly in the not-for-profit and arts cultural sectors. She's Vice President of Western Sydney Business Connection and the Head of Marketing and Fundraising at Ronald McDonald House Charities in Greater Western Sydney. So in her role there at Ronald McDonald House, Arani has spearheaded significant fundraising growth and a transition to digital and virtual campaigns. Most recently, Arani and her team produced an online fundraiser called Dance for Sick Kids, which raised $4,000 $400,000. Oh my gosh. $400,000.
Yeah.
$400,000 for the charity during COVID-19 lockdown, which is just simply incredible. So I just want to say well done to you and the team, Arani.
Thank you. Yeah, we were super thrilled with the results. We really didn't expect it. It was amazing.
It's just so cool. And we'll talk more about the initiative a little bit later in the episode. But for now, Arani, could you please tell us a little bit more about Ronald McDonald House and the work you do there?
Yeah, sure. So as you sort of mentioned, my role is Head of Marketing and Fundraising. And ultimately what that means is that we support the mission of the charity by raising funds to support our operations. So we have quite significant targets. We recently moved from a small 18-room house in Westmead to a new 60-room house. So we can now support over 2,000 families a year. And of course, that's increased our operational expenditure quite significantly. And so we've therefore had to really sort of rethink our whole fundraising strategy to ensure that we're covering the operational expenditure. So my role, I started with the charity about 18 months ago, and my role was really brought in to kind of spearhead that new strategy and new strategic direction in fundraising. In terms of marketing, I mean, majority of our marketing really is sort of very related to fundraising. We don't really have to market our services to families. That sort of tends to happen fairly organically. But obviously I oversee a brand and making sure that we're aligned with our kind of global brand guidelines in everything that we do.
Very cool, very cool. And so how do you usually raise funds?
Well, traditionally the charity had relied very heavily on corporate support and your traditional fundraising events. So we ran golf day and race day, a movie night, those sorts of smaller fundraising events. And then obviously we get a percentage of our revenue through the McDonald's partnership with their name on the door. And then also we have a suite of other corporate partners. Before I started, the charity hadn't done a lot of work in kind of that individual giving or kind of campaign space, but really my role was brought in to kind of spearhead that and diversify our income streams.
Yeah, very cool. So that obviously includes like the online fundraising side of things?
That's right, yeah. So, you know, there's a whole lot of kind of industry terms in terms of fundraising, which I won't go into because I'm not sure if all of your audience are fundraisers. They're probably not. But essentially, fundraising has taken a really swift kind of change into the digital space over the last few years. And, you know, like every sector, digital marketing has become critical to a charity's success in fundraising. So I was really keen when I started to really kind of focus on those digital channels and really kind of look at acquisition as well, because our database needed a lot of work. We needed to kind of acquire a whole lot of new donors and really build our database so that we can sort of secure that long-term sustainability for the charity.
Very cool, very cool. Yeah, as you said, it's definitely the way forward with charities. It's not just having grand balls, which I know I've been involved with planning those kinds of gala events, and they take a lot of effort and money, time, and then sometimes the return is not as big as you want it to be.
No,
so making the most of the digital space where you don't have outlays can be quite good.
Yeah, and that's right. You know, I mean, the return on investment from events is much lower than a sort of return on investment for a virtual campaign.
Yeah, 100%. So let's talk about this awesome online fundraiser you've just finished. So for me personally, I heard about the Dance for Sick Kids campaign via LinkedIn. One of the members of your team, I believe, or it could have been yourself, I can't remember. But and I promptly signed up. I just thought for me, it would be a great initiative to involve my 2 young daughters in, because I figured it'd be a great way to educate them about raising money for a charity, but also being a fun family bonding activity at the same time during COVID. So it was kind of a win-win. And so for a week, we danced around our house like idiots and shared the videos on my Facebook newsfeed and stories. I can't actually remember how much we raised now, but I do remember getting a couple of significant donations from some random Facebook friends who just said they had a association with the charity or something like that, which was pretty cool. So I just wanted to can you share the thought process and a bit behind the fundraiser and how it all worked?
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, like most charities and businesses, when COVID first started and we realised the impact that it was going to have, we really had to kind of think creatively and think about how we can sort of pivot, for want of a better word, our plans for the year to essentially continue to raise money without actually having to have physical events or the sort of fundraising that actually could put us, you know, at risk of COVID. So we did have a big campaign planned for May called Earn Your Stripes, which we had to make a really quick decision to postpone because there were a number of physical activations as part of that campaign. So we decided to postpone that campaign probably within the first sort of couple of weeks of COVID sort of restrictions. Then I really got the team together and we had probably a few hours just to really kind of brainstorm and think about how can we actually continue our fundraising during this time. We all had to work from home as well because obviously we've got immunosuppressed kids within the house and we needed to move really quickly to ensure their safety. So one of the events that had been happening for, 10 plus years was a line dance ball that was actually run by the Line Dance Association of New South Wales, and they ran it every year on our behalf and raised about $30,000 for us through this event. So obviously, given COVID restrictions, that event was cancelled, and the team and I started sort of thinking, well, what can we do with this virtually? It's a shame to kind of lose it all together. The Line Dance Association of New South Wales are really keen to support us. And we originally kind of came up with this idea of taking that line dance ball virtual and making it a peer-to-peer campaign where people sign up, line dance for a week, and then raise funds for the charity. However, overnight, my colleague in my team, Ash, sort of obviously was thinking about it and thinking about line dance and how that might slightly limit it. And the next morning she called me and said, I've got a great idea. I think we need to drop the line from the line dance and just make it Dance for Sick Kids. And it really was, like, it immediately was a light bulb for me as well. What a fantastic idea. And so Dance for Sick Kids was born. Really, it was one of those things where my team drove it predominantly. I was really caught up in all of the kind of COVID operational changes that needed to happen and the comms involved in that. And so my team went about, they developed the website, they got the whole proposition set up. They literally did their own design work on Canva. And
I love Canva.
got everything
I've talked about it a lot.
yeah, love Canva. Got everything built and designed and ready to go. And I was incredibly, impressed with their ability to do that and to sort of pivot so quickly and be so resilient. They had lots of late nights and got it up and running in 2 weeks. Ultimately, we then had 5 weeks in market really to get people signed up, and we did bring in a digital agency to help us with that acquisition. We also had, I had members of our team on the phones calling dance studios, and we were really lucky to secure 2 key dance ambassadors. So we secured Jared Byrne, who was the winner of Dancing with the Stars last year, and we also secured Marco Panzic, who is massive in the dance world. He's worked with lots of sort of celebrities as a choreographer, and he also has his own dance school, Dream Dance Company. As soon as those 2 ambassadors were on board and they started posting about it, we really saw that kind of organic reach really boom. And ultimately we probably acquired half of the fundraisers that signed up through our actual paid marketing, and the other half through, just like you, through organic posts. So it was really interesting. We could really keep our marketing spend down because of that as well. So yeah, in the end, we spent about $35,000 in total and raised $400,000, which is an incredible return on investment, and we were super thrilled with that. We did spend lots of late nights working on it as a team, and we were all catching up over Zoom and Microsoft Teams to really get it happening. But yeah, the team did an amazing job, and yeah, I mean, from there, the charity globally, our CEO was asked to present it at kind of a global catch-up of all the CEOs. And we've got New Zealand, Ireland, the UK and America interested in coming on board with us next year for Dance for Sick Kids. So it's looking like it'll go from a small campaign for our chapter to a global campaign within a year, which is incredible.
Wow. Oh, yeah. And definitely make it an annual thing. I think, I have random people saying to me, oh yeah. And they make a comment about me dancing, because we mixed it up. We had, sometimes it was just my girls dancing. Sometimes it's me and my eldest, or me with my youngest, or got my husband at the end. And it's, I think a lot of people will be like, oh, I remember what you did that last year. Yeah, I want to do it this year. And I think people go really big. So tell us, so that $35K that you invested, where did that money go?
So about $24,000 of it was spent on digital marketing. So really Facebook ads and Instagram. And then there were some sort of server fees. So we had to pay some money for the website build. Then we, just sort of incidentals like we bought flowers for the ambassadors. We did some flash challenges throughout the campaign where we told all of the fundraisers that if they got 2 donations in the next 24 hours that they'd win a pair of pink and white stripy socks, which, because we had so many young girls signed up, they just loved. And so there was cost involved in obviously the merchandise and postage and those sorts of things. But yeah, it was, $35,000 for a campaign of that size with that many people signed up and raising $400,000. It was money well spent.
Crazy. So how many people did sign up?
So we had just over 1,300 people sign up.
That's pretty cool. Were they all Australian or there's some overseas? Do you know?
Pretty much all Australian. We had 2 girls from New Zealand that signed up, and they had seen it through Marco Panzik, our ambassador. But yeah, everyone else was Australian, and we had people from all over Australia, from kind of regional New South Wales. We had one woman who we loved who was dancing in her driveway every day, and we just loved that idea, through to a young dancer from the Gold Coast who signed up, who had lost one of her best friends recently, and she really saw it as a therapeutic way to give back and do something in his honour. So it was really amazing to hear the stories. A lot of our families that had stayed with us as well signed up, and it was gorgeous to see them sign up, and they really saw it as a way to pay it forward and, thank us for the support that we had given them through their journey. So it was amazing. Like the participants just loved the experience. And honestly, I did it myself. I signed up, and it is so amazing to dance every day, right? Like it just makes you happy. I would do it in the morning before everyone else in the house woke up. I'd go downstairs, I'd just put on some music and I'd freestyle, and I felt good for the rest of the day. So it's really good for the soul, dance.
I agree. I'm a long time dancer. I've been dancing since I was like two and a half or something. So
right.
Yeah. For me. And then I'm like, oh, this is a great opportunity to dance with my kids. And it was a lot of fun. So $400,000. How much did you hope to raise?
We had originally put a target of 160,000. So, we felt that was a massive stretch target. And we were thinking, look, we probably won't make it, but let's see how we go. But yeah, we smashed it, and we made that before really the week even started. So it was incredible. I think the really interesting thing is we tapped into, like you just said, I've been a dancer since I was a kid. We tapped into a really niche kind of market, in a sense, the dance community. And while I say niche, there are so many young dancers all across Australia. So they're not a small market, but they're very specific. They love what they do. They love dance. They love to share it online and on their social channels as well. So we were really lucky that the dance community got behind it. And really, I think they drove it in the end. It was amazing to see.
And so, so ambassadors, do you think they were really key? Like if you didn't have ambassadors, would you have gotten anywhere near that amount?
I think the ambassadors were critical and, free, really. Like these guys agreed to spend their time and post on their channels to support us, which was so beautiful for them. They actually created workshops for our participants, and all free of charge. So yeah, the ambassadors made a big difference. It really amplifies that organic reach, and it can't be underestimated. Whether you're a not-for-profit or a for-profit business, having those people that are really aligned to your market and of profile that can speak on your behalf, because it's that third-party endorsement, which is so critical for any of us. We know that third-party endorsement is so much more powerful than an advertisement.
Yeah, 100%. All right, so get those ambassadors, people, if you want to have a really good, just online fundraiser or just in general, probably. It's especially if they're make sure they're on social media and they're active.
They've got lots of followers. Yeah,
lots of followers. So, what were your learnings over the whole process? So, obviously, some things worked really well. Was there anything that didn't work that you kind of thought that would, or anything else like that?
So we ran a competition which was essentially for people to post, a dance, and it was going to be judged by Marco, Jared, and Belinda, our CEO. And, we really thought that would work. We thought it would be something that a lot of the kids wanted to get involved in. But we did have, enough, like, I don't know, a handful of people enter, but certainly nothing compared with the number of people that were actually dancing. So that's probably something that we would drop for next year, just because it wasn't something that they really needed to motivate them to post about their participation. Everything else, though, I felt really worked. We were really flying by the seat of our pants. Like, this was not a planned campaign. We were having to kind of scramble the whole time just to get everything out there and make everything look really seamless. But, sometimes, like they always say, necessity is the mother of invention. It's so true. Because we had to do it, we did it, and we smashed it, and we were able to do it really cost effectively, which so often in fundraising you spend a lot of money on these sorts of campaigns and don't see the returns on investment. It was a real eye-opener to see that we could spend such a small amount to make so much.
I agree. And just from my experience as well, the emails made a big impact too, because it came from a particular person, a name. It wasn't just the general Dance with Sick Kids committee or something. And it was that real personal feel. You felt like these emails were from someone who you could just contact if you had questions. So even though it was such a big campaign and ended up being on quite a big scale, you had one person who you felt like you connected with throughout the whole journey.
Yeah, and that's true. And, those emails were written by Rachel, who was who's one of the members of my team. She wrote the emails, she took all of the calls, she really kind of account managed those fundraisers that had signed up. And we got so much feedback. So we did a post-event survey, and a lot of people mentioned that personal connection to someone from the charity was so important, and it really motivated them. We also called a lot of the fundraisers, throughout the lead up to the campaign, just to thank them for signing up. And a lot of people talked about how that call just really motivated them to raise more money. And it's something as simple as just picking up the phone and thanking people. And sometimes we underestimate the power of that.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I always talk about the power of picking up the phone for pitching or just keeping the conversation going. And it does make a big difference. It feels like, oh, I really matter. I want to really do my best for this cause. So I can, and the phone call might have been a whole 5 minutes. But the value that translates to in money, for fundraising, it's just,
Yeah, it's incredible. And, we had some girls that were raising, in excess of $10,000. These are young 12, 13-year-old girls that have gone out to their parents' network and to their friends and to their dance network and asked them to support their fundraising. We had one girl who right at the end got a big $10,000 donation. So, really incredible when you think about, how they brought their community to the charity. It's really nice to see, actually.
It's beautiful. And what I love as well is that there weren't I know some charities like run through the school and stuff. It's like the fun run ones where, oh, you raise this much money, you get these prizes or something at the end. And
Yeah.
that's driving it. We feel like that's driving it. But there wasn't any ultimate prize at the end apart from that feel good satisfaction you've helped the charity, and you still managed to raise $400,000. So it just shows for anyone who's contemplating having a fundraiser where there's an incentive at the end, it may not actually be necessary.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I mean, look, I think we did have a couple of flash challenges throughout it, which, you know, was really just about making it a bit more fun. And everyone had the opportunity to win those socks. But yeah, I think the incentive is really about the support of the charity. And we saw that time and time again. The participants told us how much it meant to them that they were able to support seriously ill children. And yeah, I think that is enough of a payback, you know, it does make you feel good. So
yeah,
it was good.
I agree. It's like we've talked about a few little things here that people can do to make their online fundraiser successful. But do you have any other tips for not-for-profits or business owners out there planning an online fundraiser and hopefully make a lot of money like yourself?
Yeah, I mean, I always say, like, bring in the experts where you need them. So we worked with a fundraising digital agency called Elevate to actually do our media buying. And they are great because they know the sector really well, they know what works, and they could manage that for us, and it was one element that we didn't have to think about. I think the other thing is, you know, as leaders, we often kind of think that we're the ones that have to come up with the ideas. And in this case, actually, this was really driven by my team, and I must give them all credit because they drove it, they owned it. You know, as you mentioned, like Rachel in my team, she's only been with the charity, you know, 4 or 5 months, and she really owned it. She created a lot of the videos that you would have seen, just off her own back. And then Ash in my team also really led it and kind of project managed the rest of the team. And it was so nice to see them do that and really stand on their own feet and drive something that, while I had oversight over it and, of course, you know, signed everything off, they really owned it. And I think as business owners, as leaders, we really need to empower our teams more, because magic can happen when you empower them. And that was really nice to see.
I love that. And, you know, I've had a recent episode about engaging your team in remote working conditions. And we did cover a little bit about that, of really empowering the team, have a goal in mind and just go, all right, you come up with how the best ways to achieve that goal.
Yeah.
And I know from my own experience when I have worked in teams that when I'm trusted to do a good job, I really want to do that good job and prove myself and prove to the rest of the team that I can do this, rather than being micromanaged, which makes you second guess yourself when you're constantly having to answer to someone else and give feedback and input.
Yeah, that's true. And, you know, I mean, like I've worked in junior positions, like we all have worked in junior positions. I know what I like, and I'm like you. I prefer to be a bit more autonomous and really kind of drive a project, and that motivates me. And so I suppose, you know, if we lead our teams the way that we like to be led, which is predominantly what people do, that's the ultimate outcome, I think.
Exactly. And so that's been all really great. And what I do now, Arani, is I ask my guests, how do you manage your health and wellness?
Well, Leanne, I hate to say that I really don't manage it very well. Like so many of us, I'm a working mum, and, you know, ultimately, as much as I try not to let this happen, I think my own needs probably come last after, you know, kids, husband, work. I sit on 2 boards, the board responsibilities. So I'm probably not the best at it. But in saying that, I actually forgive myself for that. And I think sometimes that forgiveness for not managing your own sort of health and well-being is health and well-being in a way. I don't beat myself up about it. I am who I am. And, you know, I fit in I walk the dog when I can and, you know, try and feed our family healthy meals. And that's as good as it gets at the moment. And that's enough.
I agree with that, because you have to just, I mean, mum guilt can just take over you if
Yes,
you don't.
yeah.
And no, I agree. You're doing a good job. Good work.
Thanks. Thanks, yeah.
And how can people connect with you?
Well, you can connect with me on LinkedIn. Arani Duggan is my LinkedIn. And yeah, I mean, I'd love to connect with the sector more broadly. And, you know, obviously there are lots of ways for your listeners to support the house. If that's something that they're interested in, we'd love to hear from you. It can be as small as coming in and cooking a meal for the families that stay here, through to getting involved in one of our campaigns or volunteering your time. So yeah, connect and let's see how we can work together.
Yeah, sounds good. I do want to bring my girls there sometime to do cooking and stuff, and they're a little bit older. They're still not quite 7, not quite 4. So when they're a bit older, I would love to come do that kind of thing. Or even
but amazing that you've introduced them to charity work already through Dance for Sick Kids. That's really great. Like that gives them that grounding in, you know, how good it feels to give back. Yeah,
well, I made sure whenever a donation came in, like, oh, guess what, Gabby? Like, we just got this much more money. And oh, wow, I'm like, that's going to go help the sick kids. And just watching her, and I'd love to get her involved a little bit more, because as she gets a bit older, I want that to be ingrained, because I come from a family, a lot of volunteer work, and I want to, basically ingrain that into
important for kids, right? Like they learn so much about their power to be an everyday hero. You know, we can all be heroes really in the simplest ways. So yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, exactly. And so, so thank you so much for joining us today.
No problem.
Really enjoyed the chat. It was really good to hear about behind the scenes, because I was fascinated as it came about. Like, oh, I wonder, I have a feeling this just came out during the COVID, but thought processes, I was very curious. So thank you so much for sharing that.
No problem.
And thanks to you, dear listener, for tuning in. You can find show notes for the episode at marketingandme.com.au. If you enjoyed listening, please subscribe and leave me a rating and review on your podcast platform of choice. If you're interested in connecting with me, feel free to reach out via LinkedIn. Just search for Leanne Shelton. And you can also join the Marketing and Me podcast Facebook group. If you want to learn more about generating more leads or outsourcing your copywriting to me, head to my website, righttimemarketing.com.au, and book in a free 30-minute discovery call. Until next time, I wish you good health and good wealth.